I'm Ed Kelly, editor of the Oklahoman. J.C. Watts for governor? Not so fast. Why is he out, and what does this mean? To answer those questions is Chris Castile, chief of the Oklahoman's Washington Bureau, and a frequent contributor here on News OK TV. Okay, Chris, J.C. Watts walked up to the water's edge in the governor's race, but he didn't take the plunge. Why?
Well, right, Ed, the former Oklahoma Republican congressman and Oklahoma Corporation commissioner, and obviously, of course, the former star Sooner quarterback, put out a statement today saying that business and contractual obligations created hurdles for him that he just couldn't overcome. He's a lobbyist, public relations person up here. He's got all kinds of businesses, really. He sits on corporate boards. He's involved in all kinds of things, and I'm not sure why he didn't realize some of those obligations existed while he was flirting with this. And he doesn't say in the statement, he didn't elaborate in the statement, and he wasn't available for interviews today. And whether these hurdles he's talking about were business ones or political, maybe they're both. Right. But it could very well be that people that hired his firm, some of his clients, hired J.C. Watts, not some of the other people in his firm that may have a lot of experience on Capitol Hill or wherever. They wanted J.C. working for them, and that he just wouldn't have been able to devote the kind of time in Oklahoma necessary to make this race. But also, some of his clients may have caused political problems for him, including one that we wrote about a couple of weeks ago, the Tarrant Regional Water District in north central Texas that's suing the state of Oklahoma over water that it wants from the state. So according to the former congressman, it was these business and contractual legal obligations that kept him out of the race.
Okay, does Watts' decision change the dynamic in the governor's race, particularly on the Republican side?
Oh, sure. I mean, J.C. would have been a formidable candidate, despite some of these things that I just discussed. I mean, some of the things that he might have had to answer to about who he represents, the fact that he's been out of the state for 6 years since he left Congress in early 2003. Still, J.C. has kind of a superstar status back there, and he would have had a pretty big following, you have to imagine, in the Republican Party. Of course, Congresswoman Mary Fallon, who represents Oklahoma City and Shawnee and Seminole, is already in the race, and she said that she was going to stay in the race whether Watts got in it or not. There's also a state senator named Randy Brogdon from Owasso who has announced that he's in it. So now what you're looking at is Fallon and Senator Brogdon. Whether anybody else gets in, anybody's guess. But I mean, you would have to think at this point, with Fallon's experience, 12 years as lieutenant governor, going to all those small towns and doing ribbon cuttings and eating, bean dinners in all those towns, she's probably got a pretty good base of support herself. I'm just not sure how far outside of his own state senate district that Brogdon's support might extend. But yeah, you just never know. I mean, that's what makes elections so interesting. You just can't predict what voters are going to do. Obviously, the governor of Oklahoma right now was a state senator who wasn't very well known, who came out and beat Steve Largent in 2002. So it changes the dynamic, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be any less interesting, I guess.
That's true. It's a fascinating time. Chris, thank you as always.
Thank you, Ed.
Stay here on News OK for more coverage of this continuing story.